Welcome. This is Astrology Insight Now, a weekly forecast program with astrology and other ways to help you make the most of your week and to heighten confidence for daily life. It's run by Pamela Cuccinell, that's me, the astrologer, and I invite you to find out more about my work at insightoasis.com. I look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends, and here we go. As you heard last week, we are now in the waning moon cycle because the full moon occurred on this past Friday, depending again where you are on the planet. The times I gave are Eastern times, so you'll need to adjust if that is not your time zone. So I'm talking about Monday the 4th. We open with the moon in Sagittarius, and this is actually a really strong day for finishing things up, working on things that you've already got a lot of fire behind, connecting with people in ways that pull things together. There's a lot of energy on this day. Sag is a mutable sign, so it's adaptable. And as the moon travels in the sky, it eventually makes a trine to Mars, which is the planet of action and going after what we desire. So even though the moon goes void of course at 5:33 p.m. Eastern time, there is a window with that void of course moon where the Sagittarius energy is still pumping along. The piece that needs to be looked at here is it's super important to know what you're aiming for. The more direct you are in your aim and goal and what you want to accomplish, the more fruitful the day's actions are going to be. And this is because Sagittarius is a very spontaneous sign. It can get excited by new ideas, things that it wants to expand on, lost in conversations. And if there's a lot going on, it can be very active, but not as targeted as you may want your aim to go. So keep in mind, Sagittarius is, among other things, the sign of the archer. So you want to know where you want to position that target of energy as you go through, especially early evening into late evening, anything that you're still wanting to put into action and make happen. And this overall can still be a very dynamic time and fruitful time up until sort of mid-morning on Tuesday the 5th. Tuesday the 5th, the moon actually goes into the sign of Capricorn at 3:06 p.m. So the time of mid-morning until that time when the moon enters Capricorn, it's almost as though that Sagittarian push has become, okay, we've done our big effort and now we're just seeing where everything went. And so you want to kind of gather your thoughts, see where you're at, put some structure on things, perhaps put things in order, clean up or move on from anything that's kind of in your way. And once the moon enters Capricorn, it's more a roll up our sleeves and confront the tasks at hand. So if things were set into motion, especially as we were moving towards last week's full moon, and whatever may have continued to gather that momentum on Monday into Tuesday morning, the mid-afternoon on Tuesday through the next couple of days are going to be very important for basically seeing where you're at and having the hard conversations. Because of the different planetary configurations in the sky on the early evening on Tuesday into the later evening, it indicates potential for, well, certainly conversations to be a bit confrontive or really want to work through power structures and things that feel as though they're holding someone back or creating impasses that make it difficult to move through. It's important to define what these things are because as we assess them and perhaps have some conversations that seem like they're going nowhere, or we continue to encounter the same old conversations with people that seem to, he says this and she says that, and he says this and he says that. And it's almost like a ping pong that is predictable, what the responses are going to be and what the outcome will be. What's valuable on a day like today is to see when that ball gets lobbed in your direction and you have a reactionary response and you catch yourself and you confront that reactionary response in your mind with something that changes the expected lobby back. Because when you do that, the person on the other side who basically is used to the way this thing goes, it's almost like a planned, what is it, wrestlers, they have this whole dance they do where they go through the motions of perceived battle, but one motion leads to another motion that actually is anticipated to bring about, as the game continues, the expected outcome. And it's not necessarily that the watchers or the viewers know what the expected outcome will be, but the players involved do. So if you find yourself in one of these verbal matches that it's almost feels like it's not worth continuing the conversation because you cannot change the outcome, then it's important to consider, what can I say differently? How can I posture this differently? What can I bring into the conversation that basically confuses the other person or people and creates more space for something new to occur? Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be well received or embraced, but it does mean that when we become conscious of how basically we play into the script, then we have the ability to consider how we might change something or come to the realization that this is not possible and we're best served by taking our energy elsewhere. Capricorn puts a very strong dynamic into our emotional understanding that some people view as cold because it seems so practical or at times ruthless or just accepts things as they are and works with the materials at hand with no stretch for something more. However, it's important to understand or really see the reality of a situation. Much is invested in intentions or viewing things differently or reimagining. And this is all positive, except when our imagination overruns our ability to really see. And we are best served when we understand sometimes wishing and hoping is not the same as seeing what's in front of us and constructing new realities. It's just a understanding of the difference between magical thinking and reinventing. That's all I'm going to say right now. This leads into Wednesday when Pluto goes retrograde at 11:34 a.m. Now, when Pluto changes direction, either goes retrograde or direct, depending on our perspective here on Earth, it may not happen instantaneously that day. There are other planets when they make this movement from our perception, because obviously the planets aren't really going backwards, they're continuing in their orbits. But when we perceive that to be happening, oftentimes there's something that occurs synchronistically on Earth that dovetails with what the symbolic message is. In the case of Pluto going retrograde, it may not be conscious initially, but we will start to see it over the coming weeks and months. So with the retrograde of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, the odds are that there will be things that retract or start to be reconsidered about, well, brave new technology or things that have been, if you've been working with a personal transit with Pluto, meaning that Pluto is in dialogue geometrically with one of your natal planets. And so when it changes direction from our perspective, it can feel like, it can feel like a relief, perhaps, or it can feel like oh, here it comes again. It depends where it is in your horoscope transiting. So if you know where Aquarius is in your personal horoscope, and if you're born early degrees of a fixed sign, which is Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, you may well be experiencing the effects of a Pluto transit. It can also be perhaps on your moon sign, your rising sign, Venus or Mars, and you're experiencing deep transformations within that symbolic area of life. So with the actual retrograde read in a global capacity, especially with this movement of the moon in the sign of Capricorn, I sense there can be a lot of confrontational energy that comes up. We're certainly seeing that in world news. we're seeing, certainly in the United States, a lot of confrontations within not only political parties, but with many people just questioning certain decisions that the US government is making with wars and things that have to do with military and arms. And Pluto is very much about power and resources. So things perhaps will be revealed over the next few weeks of why there's certain wars or what seems to be quests for more colonization or usurping governments and taking resources. And these questions are perhaps going to be more confronted with this revelation time and the whole questioning about vast wealth and the disparity is just going to continue to be an ongoing discussion. Discussion being the least aggressive word I can offer for what may prevail. In personal experiences, you may find that Wednesday is a day overall, which is quite advantageous for oiling the gears and doing the work you need to do, as long as everyone's on the same page and you're aiming for where you want to go and what direction you want to make. It's really important to check in with people, make sure everybody is kind of moving in the same direction, because on the 7th, there are indications that, well, people can be out of sorts, cranky, argumentative, especially in the morning through mid-morning, actually even into later morning. It's a raw morning. And if there's sort of a emotional hangover from things that went down the day before, that's when it'll come up. And then the moon goes void, of course, at 10:18 a.m., and it's void, of course, for the rest of the day. So in my mind, the best way to deal with whatever may come up is deal with it beforehand. Check in, as I said, with people beforehand Wednesday. Make sure everyone is understanding or making happen what it is everyone's aiming for. Because when people are, the thing about Moon and Capricorn is we can be very focused on what we're doing. And, you kind of get in that little worker bee zone, depending on who you are with your astrological makeup. If you like to work or you like to have a task or you're following through with whatever the directions are. And yet it's really important to make sure that everybody has the tools they need, feel heard, are all delivering the same energy to what needs to happen. Otherwise, there will be eruptions or grievances, especially voiced perhaps on Thursday morning. So after the void, of course, and we get into the afternoon of Thursday into evening, can be a very, very productive time for working on things that we already have in motion, like following through doing the things that need to be delivered, making it happen. The moon enters Aquarius at 3:27 a.m. on Friday the 8th. And now we have a couple of days that just sort of sing along, which is nice because, as you may have been tuning in, the beginning of the week or most of the week, was kind of more, we have to pay attention and make sure that we're checking in with everybody and uh, seeing that all egos are stroked and everybody's content. But on Friday, we are just moving along with a nice buzz. If you're working on something or doing things that are in total alignment with what you want to make happen, you are just in your total happy place. It's just humming. And it's a great weekend to be with people who are on like-minded goals, similar tasks. It can be community engagement. It can be projects, working with different generations, things that have to do with not only community, but thinking in terms of global community. It can be it can be people in one room, like putting together some sort of project or quilt or something, or it can be people who are just connected online across the spectrum, pulling things together and creating things that take action to create new things. There's a lot of initiation energy. Even though this is a waning moon cycle, it's almost that, I think, with the Pluto retrograde that had occurred, that we may come back to something. There may have been something that maybe all the money hadn't come in with a project, or there were things that delayed it, or we didn't know where we were going with something, and information comes in. It's almost like, oh, we have a new power source, or there's funding, or just the enthusiasm from, perhaps, I mean, power sources aren't just electronic or minerals. Sometimes there you get a pivotal person into the mix who is really providing energy or status or renown or some sort of position that really ramps up whatever the goal was. So overall, a really dynamic couple of days into the weekend. And then the moon goes for it, of course, at 1:09 a.m. on Sunday, which I noticed Mother's Day for, I guess in the States, I think it's Mother's Day for people who recognize that. And once it's void, of course, it doesn't enter Pisces until 1:39 p.m. So it's a nice morning to chill, to, yes, perhaps journal or do things that just allow you a sense of, well, powering down. Aquarius is a very electric sign. It's verbal. It bounces through a lot of ideas. So I would use this time to be offline and simply let ideas kind of feed in ways that are more organic. Make bread, make a pie if you like to do those things, garden, walk in the woods, do things that basically allow you that sense of connections other than electronic. And the moon, once it enters Pisces at 1:39 p.m., this overall is with the moon in Pisces these days, because Uranus has moved into Gemini. So when the moon is in a mutable sign, we will get eventually some sort of geometric connection with Uranus, and that can always occur, some sort of disruption or unexpected thing. It's not necessarily bad. It's just, I thought I was doing this and now I'm doing that, or where did he come from? It's this out of the blue kind of delivery, and that can hit sometime mid-afternoon on Sunday. And overall, there's really sweet energy as we get into the evening. We can feel very like big, beneficial, like as though good things are happening. And so it's nice to kind of sink into that and really play with it, expand it, because as the moon continues her journey, eventually we may question that sense of expansion or things getting bigger or possibilities. But if we've really expanded our net on Sunday about what those possibilities will be, when and if we get the feeling that things are tapering down, we'll still have so many things that we aim for and believe in and possibilities, that all it will do is sort of winnow it down to more realizable. Is that a word? Realistic? I don't want to say realistic. I want to say things that we can realize, those kind of goals. You have been listening to Astrology Insight Now. Please share with your friends. And if you'd like to make a donation, you can do so at astrologyinsightnow.com. Have a stellar week, and we hope to see you next time.